You only beg when you forget you're the prize. Listen to that again. Because if you're still chasing her attention, still explaining yourself to people who don't care, still trying to prove your worth to those who already dismissed you, then you've already given away the most powerful weapon a man can ever hold, his silence. You think saying more will fix it. You think being loyal will win her back. You think explaining your side will make her see. But all it's doing is proving you need her more than she needs you. And in today's world, that kind of emotional vulnerability isn't rewarded, it's punished. They don't respect words, they respect withdrawal. They respect the man who can walk away without flinching, the one who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain. Comment, "No more chasing" if you're ready to listen to this video till the end. Number 1. Chasing is a submission of power. You're sitting by your phone again, waiting for that reply that never comes. You reread your last message, the one you worded so carefully, the one you sent hours ago. No response. You check again, still nothing. And yet, part of you still believes that if you just say the right thing, show her how much you care, if you just try one more time, maybe then she'll see your worth. Maybe then she'll change her mind. But deep down, you know, she's already made up her mind. The truth is, the moment you start chasing is the moment you stop leading. You hand her all the power. Power over your time, your energy, your peace of mind. And it's not just with women. It's with anyone who sees that you're more invested than they are. They lose respect for you the second they realize you'll do anything to be seen, heard, or validated. That's not strength, that's desperation. And desperation is never attractive. You think you're showing commitment. She sees obsession. You think you're being loving. She sees weakness. You think you're being loyal. She sees a man who has no better options. The moment you chase someone who treats you like an afterthought is the moment you betray yourself. It's not love. It's addiction. It's not commitment. It's compulsion. And she knows it. She reads the messages. She sees the calls. She watches you try harder while she puts in nothing. And it only confirms her decision. You're not the one. Not because you're not worthy, but because you don't act like you are. Because worthy men don't beg. They don't chase. They walk away when they're not met with the same energy. Look around. The man who gets the most respect in any room is never the one trying to win everyone over. He's the one who walks in, fully grounded in who he is, and doesn't need to explain or prove a damn thing. And if you want to be that man, it starts with the decision to stop handing out your energy like free samples. Start observing who invests in you, who checks in without needing something, who respects your time, your values, your boundaries. If she disappears after you stop chasing, she was never with you. She was with your effort, your validation, your attention. Take that away, and the illusion breaks. And yes, walking away will hurt. But staying in a one-sided situation that drains your self-respect, that'll destroy you. You've got to wake up. You've got to stop thinking that if you just do more, love harder, prove yourself louder, she'll come around. She won't. She's already emotionally gone. And you're the only one still playing the game. The moment you stop chasing is the moment she starts remembering your value, not because you told her, but because she felt your absence. Because when a man who truly cared stops trying, it hits different. But by then, you won't care, because you'll be too busy rebuilding what she couldn't see, your worth. So what do? You cut the rope. You stop texting. You stop explaining. You stop waiting. And you start. Start investing that energy into your purpose, into your health, into building a life so full and powerful that you no longer have space for anyone who doesn't see your value immediately. You become the man who doesn't chase, not because he's cold, but because he knows his worth is not up for negotiation. That's the kind of man she remembers forever, not the one who begged, the one who vanished, the one who turned his back with silence and left her to wrestle with the consequences of her indifference. You want power? Stop chasing. Start building. Your time is now. And when you realize that, when it finally clicks that every time you chase, you surrender your value, that's when it's time to stop guessing and start building. That's why the Stoic Relationship Blueprint exists. It's not just an ebook. It's your permanent weapon against ever being emotionally manipulated again. Every page is packed with answers to the questions you've been asking alone at night. Why did she change? Why did it fall apart after I gave my all? What do I do now? This blueprint is a lifetime tool. Once it's yours forever. No subscriptions, just the raw, unfiltered truth to transform how you show up in every relationship from now on. The link's in the comments. Lock it in while it's still available. Number 2, control your emotions, control your life. There's a reason she knows how to push your buttons, why she raises her voice, throws insults, manipulates your words, flips the script, and watches how you react. It's not just to argue, it's to test your control. Because the second you explode, you lose, and she wins. You might think you're standing your ground, that you're proving a point, but from the outside, you look like a child having a tantrum, and deep down, you know it. That's the game they play, and every time you react, you give them ammunition. They provoke, you respond. They twist, you defend. They lie, you explain. And the cycle continues. You are always reacting, never leading, never in control. And that's why you feel drained. That's why you feel lost. That's why nothing you say ever lands, because they don't want resolution. They want chaos. They want to see if they can make you lose your composure. Because once they do, they control the narrative. But the man who is unfazed, the man who doesn't flinch, the man who meets madness with calm, that man is dangerous. Not because he's violent, but because he cannot be moved by emotional manipulation. He doesn't need to raise his voice. His silence stings more than any argument. His lack of reaction makes them spiral. You think control is about being louder, but real power is restraint. It's presence. It's holding the line when everything is trying to pull you out of character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." What does that mean for you? It means that she's not the problem. Her words, her actions, her games, they're not the issue. The issue is that you haven't decided how much power those things have over you. You haven't made the decision that your peace is non-negotiable. You're still hoping she'll change, that she'll see what she's doing. But the hard truth is, she doesn't care, and she won't until you stop playing her game. You want real peace. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop trying to fix situations that were designed to break you. And you start focusing on what you can control: your response, your routine, your mindset, your energy. You stop chasing closure. You create it. You stop arguing. You walk away. You stop getting pulled into emotional warfare. You become the man who cannot be baited. That's the man no one wants to lose, because they know once he's gone for good. And the silence he leaves behind, it speaks volumes. It says, "I saw everything, I felt everything, and I decided to protect my peace more than I wanted to win your approval." That's power. You want to build that? Start with daily discipline. Wake up earlier, train harder, work smarter. Build something every day that makes you proud, not to prove anything to anyone, but to prove to yourself that you are no longer a man who needs external validation to feel whole. And when someone tries to disrupt your peace, you'll have already decided they don't get access to you anymore. Not because you hate them, but because your future doesn't include explaining yourself to people who benefit from your confusion. So, the next time they try to provoke you, smile. Not because it's funny, but because you've already won. You just didn't say anything. You didn't need to. You're in control now. And there's nothing more powerful than a man who controls his emotions, because that man controls his life. Number 3. Explaining yourself is a trap. You keep thinking that if you just explain it better, if you lay it all out with the right words, if you go back and clarify what you really meant, maybe she'll finally get it. Maybe this time she'll stop twisting your intentions, stop using your own words against you, stop pretending she doesn't understand what you're trying to say when deep down you know she absolutely does. But you keep explaining. You send long messages trying to clear your name, hoping she'll see that you didn't mean to upset her, that you were just being honest, that your intentions were pure. But all she does is ignore it, mock it, manipulate it, or weaponize it. You keep thinking communication will save what only silence can cure. But listen carefully. This is the trap. The more you explain yourself to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, the deeper you fall into a cycle of self-betrayal. Every time you defend your character to someone who doesn't respect it, you're lowering your value in their eyes and in your own. You're trying to win a game where the rules are rigged against you, and every word you say is being used to disqualify you, to paint you as unstable, overly emotional, or weak. You think you're being reasonable. She thinks you're easy to manipulate. You think you're being vulnerable. She sees it as leverage. You think you're making peace. She's collecting ammo. That's how this dynamic works. It's never about understanding you. It's about controlling the frame, and as long as you keep explaining, you're giving her the upper hand. She doesn't need more context. She already knows exactly how she's making you feel. She just doesn't care. Because the moment you explain, you justify. And the moment you justify, you put yourself on trial in a courtroom that was never built to give you justice. So what do? You stop playing. You stop needing to be understood. You stop treating your truth like it needs permission to exist. You say less. You let people sit with what they've done. You let them wonder what you're thinking instead of feeding them every emotion you're going through. And most importantly, you stop trying to convince someone to see your worth, because real worth doesn't argue. Real worth doesn't explain. It walks, it detaches, it rebuilds in silence. And that silence, it's not passive, it's power. Because the man who doesn't explain himself is the man who's already decided who deserves access to him and who doesn't. He doesn't need closure. He doesn't need validation. He doesn't need to be heard because he listens to himself. He knows his intent. He stands by it. He watches who runs from it, and he lets them go without a word. You want to break this pattern. You want to take your power back. You need to stop arguing with people who are benefiting from your confusion. You need to stop turning conversations into court cases. You need to stop sending paragraphs to someone who responds with one word or not at all. The moment you feel the urge to explain, pause. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it to be understood or to be validated? And if the answer is validation, walk away. Validate yourself through your discipline, through your silence, through your growth, through the peace that comes from no longer being at war with people who thrive off your emotional vulnerability. And the next time she hits you with the cold shoulder, the gaslighting, the twisted logic, just nod. Say nothing. Not because you're weak, but because you're done handing over your clarity to people who live in chaos. That's not detachment. That's self-respect. And once you master that, you'll never feel the need to explain yourself again. Number 4, silence makes people uncomfortable. There's a reason she used to check her phone every time you went quiet. A reason she started posting more the moment you stopped watching her stories. A reason she suddenly popped up in your messages days or weeks after you finally went silent. It's because your silence hit her harder than any words ever could. And that silence, it wasn't emptiness. It was presence. It was the echo of everything you used to say, now gone. And that emptiness speaks volumes. People don't get uncomfortable with silence unless it means something, unless it reveals something they were trying to avoid. See, when you're always talking, always explaining, always chasing resolution, they never have to feel the weight of their actions. They never have to look in the mirror. They never have to own their part in the chaos. But when you fall silent, truly silent, the mask slips. Suddenly they're left alone with their thoughts, with their choices, with the mess they made. And there's no distraction, no reassurance, no emotional cushion. That's when reality hits. Because the man who used to explain, justify, check in, follow up, he's gone. And in that stillness, she starts to feel the difference between being heard and being ignored, between being pursued and being left alone, between being tolerated and being forgotten. And it shakes her, because deep down she always expected you to come back. She counted on your empathy, your guilt, your habit of overgiving. She never thought you'd disappear without warning. She never imagined you'd finally realize that your voice had been wasted on someone who was only pretending not to understand. And now that silence is screaming all the things you used to say, but louder, more permanent, more painful. That's the power of withdrawing completely, of offering no explanation, no retaliation, no attempt at closure, because silence is the only response left when you've said everything there is to say, and they still chose to disrespect you. But let's go deeper. Why does this silence affect them so deeply? Because it shifts the dynamic. It flips the power. When you go silent, you take control, not just of the situation, but of yourself. You stop reacting. You stop participating in their drama. You stop feeding the very chaos they created. And without your participation, the dysfunction dies. That's what makes people panic. That's what forces them to reflect or spiral. And the beauty of it is, you don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to block anyone. You don't need to burn bridges. You just leave. You disappear. You rebuild. And when they finally realize what they lost, it's too late. Because you're already too far gone to care. You've already reconnected with yourself. You've already recentered your peace. You've already decided that your energy is no longer available to people who abuse it. So what's the move? Start today. Pick one situation, one person, where you've been explaining, begging, repeating, and go silent. No goodbye, no long explanation. Just fall back, focus on your life. Watch how quickly the energy shifts. Watch who scrambles to find you, and watch how free you feel. It won't be easy. Your ego will beg you to break the silence. Your heart will want to explain just one more time. But don't. Trust that everything you needed to say was already said, and trust that anything left unsaid was never going to be understood by someone who wasn't listening in the first place. This isn't about ghosting. It's about growth. It's about protecting your soul from people who only show up to drain it. It's about reclaiming your voice by refusing to waste it. And the moment you stop talking is the moment people start listening. Not because you said something profound, but because you finally said nothing at all. Number 5, the one who cares less holds the power. You've probably noticed it already, but haven't put it into words. The cruel, uncomfortable truth that in nearly every relationship, dynamic, or interaction, the one who cares less controls how everything unfolds. And if you care too much, if you show it too early, if you make yourself emotionally available before she earns it, she starts pulling back. Not because she's evil, but because she senses that she doesn't have to try anymore. And this isn't just about women. It's about the balance of energy in every connection you form. Whoever holds the least attachment dictates the pace, the tone, the boundaries. And if you're the one who's constantly trying, constantly checking in, constantly adjusting your standards to keep the peace, You've already given away the throne. Think back. How many times have you been the one trying to hold it together while she casually walked away like it meant nothing? How many times have you rewritten your boundaries to keep her from leaving? How often have you made excuses for her coldness, her inconsistencies, her disrespect, because you just didn't want to lose her? But ask yourself, why do you value someone who doesn't value you back? Why are you so loyal to someone who sees you as an option? It's because somewhere along the line, you were taught that love means sacrifice, that being a good man means carrying the weight, fixing the broken, proving your intentions over and over again. But that's not love. That's slavery in disguise. The man who bends over backwards to keep her happy ends up resenting himself for becoming a shell of who he used to be. And she senses it. She sees that you've made her the sun and built your whole life around orbiting her needs. And that's when the respect disappears. Because people only respect what they fear losing. And if she knows you'll always be there no matter how little she gives, she doesn't fear losing you. She expects to outgrow you. That's why she chases the man who doesn't chase her. That's why she replays the moments with the guy who didn't respond right away. The one who was harder to reach. The one who didn't drop everything just to get her attention. Not because he's better, but because he valued himself enough to walk away when his energy wasn't reciprocated. And that's the energy you need to tap into. Not arrogance, not manipulation, but discipline. The discipline to detach. The discipline to stop reaching out first. The discipline to sit with the discomfort of silence instead of trying to fill it with more effort. Because once you care less, not in a bitter, resentful way, but in a centered, grounded way, the dynamic changes. She starts noticing, people start respecting, your time becomes expensive, your presence becomes rare, and rare is valuable. So how do you flip the switch? You start by watching where your energy goes. You stop pouring into people who don't pour back. You stop chasing anyone who doesn't meet you halfway. You stop rewarding bad behavior with more attention. And instead, you double down on your priorities. You redirect that obsessive focus back onto your life. You get in the gym. You improve your skills. You upgrade your standards. You expand your world so wide that the absence of one flaky, emotionally inconsistent person doesn't shake you anymore. Because you're building something greater than her approval. You're building a life where you are the prize. And when you become that man, the man who doesn't tolerate disrespect, who doesn't overextend himself, who knows that peace is more important than partnership, that's when people start chasing you. Not because you played a game, but because you stopped playing theirs. And if she leaves because you stopped overgiving, let her. If she walks because you enforced your standards, hold the door. Because the man who is okay with being alone can never be manipulated by the fear of abandonment. And that's the real power. So if you feel like you're the only one trying, the only one caring, the only one holding it together, stop, let go. Watch who notices, watch who scrambles, watch who was only there because you made it easy. And then move on, quietly, confidently, completely. Because in the end, the one who cares less holds the power, but the one who cares for himself the most holds the peace. And that's the kind of man who never has to chase anything again, because everything real gravitates toward him naturally. Number 7. Silent growth is the final word. There's no announcement when the roots grow underground. There's no applause when a man decides to leave behind everything he used to be. Not the woman who took him for granted. Not the friendships that drained him. Not the habits that kept him mediocre. Just silence, decision, and transformation. Most people won't recognize the moment you start changing because they're too busy watching the version of you they thought would stay broken. They expect you to stay explainable, reachable, predictable. They expect you to stay the man who always answered texts immediately, who made time for people who made none for him, who argued for his worth instead of showing it. But that man is gone now. And the new version? He says nothing. Not because he's cold, but because he's focused. Not because he's playing games, but because he's building something no one can see yet. Silent growth isn't flashy, but it's undefeated. And the most dangerous man in the room is not the one talking about how he's on his grind, but the one who fell off the radar and came back unrecognizable, stronger, calmer, sharper, cleaner, wealthier. That man doesn't tell people he's healed. He just stops bleeding on them. He doesn't tell them he's upgraded. He just moves like it. He doesn't seek revenge. His evolution is the revenge. You want to become that man? Then stop sharing half-grown goals with people who laugh behind your back. Stop venting to people who are secretly relieved you're not doing better than them. Stop begging people to understand the life you're creating when they've already decided they're comfortable where they are. Grow in silence, because growth in noise is always met with resistance, jealousy, and sabotage. Grow in silence because your journey isn't a group project. It's a war that only you can fight. And once you've rebuilt yourself without needing applause, you'll never again depend on it. She won't understand why you're not chasing anymore. They won't get why you're not replying. Your circle will shrink. Your phone will go quiet. Your weekends will get lonelier. But your vision will get sharper. Your mind will get clearer. Your spirit will get hungrier. And when the world finally sees you again, they'll think it happened overnight, not realizing it was silent growth that changed everything. So here's the truth. You don't need closure. You don't need to make an announcement. You don't need to update anyone. Let them wonder. Let them think you gave up. Let them think you faded. And then show up. Not with words, not with validation seeking, but with results so undeniable that every room shifts when you enter it. Your bank account speaks for you. Your fitness speaks for you. Your discipline speaks for you. Your energy speaks for you. And that's why silent growth is the final word. Because when you've mastered your focus, your response, your vision, you realize you no longer need to explain, justify, or chase anyone or anything. You simply rise, quietly, relentlessly, completely. You've chased long enough. You've begged for closure that never came. You've explained yourself to people who already decided not to hear you. Now it's time to reclaim your power. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint isn't just a book. It's the emotional weapon every man needs to stop being used, ignored, and discarded like he's nothing. If you're tired of the lies, the manipulation, the confusion, and you're ready to walk like a man who never chases again, then this is your moment. The link is in the comments. Grab it now and keep this truth with you for life. Comment, "Silence is power," if you're done being disrespected. Like this video, subscribe, and share it, because this knowledge will save another man years of chasing the wrong woman and losing himself in the process. Don't just watch. Transform.